So welcome back to week 3 of our Advent program. This week, Pope Francis gets really practical, speaking about please, thank you and sorry. In other words, how do we show respect? How do we practice forgiveness in our family life? I'm sure you've got your PDF in front of you already to follow along with this program, but let's sit back now and hear what the Archbishop has to share with us.
So now it's the third Sunday of Advent. It's often called Rejoice Sunday, because the coming of the great Christmas gift with Jesus coming to the world is near. So in chapter 133, or section 133 in chapter 4 of the Joy of the Gospel, the Pope gets so practical, Pope Francis. He says that the big words that should happen in family life and in the world in general is please, thank you, I'm sorry. Please, thank you, I'm sorry. These are the building stones of building a civilization of love and forgiveness, building a family, that life that is like a light on the coast of Australia, to send out in the night a bright lighthouse light to make sure that we keep safe by the words of forgiveness and love shared with each other. In the second reading from today's, this weekend's readings, we have a beautiful expression there again from Philippians. I want you to be happy, says St. Paul's. Always happy in the Lord. I repeat, what I want is your happiness. Happiness. That is a great gift of Christmas. Rejoicing in the great grace that God gives us in the little child coming amongst us. Let us therefore, dear friends, reflect on these important words of asking forgiveness and the little polite ones of please and thank you, not take each other for granted, but to see in the little things how the big things happen.
Okay, so we're here at our discussion time again, and before we discuss in groups or reflect for ourselves, we're going to listen to the reflections of people from around the Archdiocese. So what do you reckon about what the Pope's saying? Telling us that we should say please, thank you and sorry. Is he being a bit condescending, a bit over the top? Or are these simple words and simple expressions of respect and forgiveness, are they important in our family life? And secondly, he's quite challenging when he talks about the fact that sometimes the believers in the extended family can be unbearably arrogant. Have you seen this? Have you been this? How can we avoid this sort of approach in our family life? Let's have a chat together, and I'll see you next week.
When I first read Francis's comment there, I thought I was a bit corny. As I started to think about it, please, thank you and sorry actually illustrates what it means to be a family. It illustrates the depth of the relationships that exist within the family. So by please, I'm expressing my need, my vulnerability. By saying thank you, I'm saying I don't take you for granted, and I acknowledge your dignity and your contribution to our common life. And by saying sorry, I acknowledge my frailty and recognise that that my actions have an impact on you and your actions have an impact on me. So in actual fact, those three very simple words actually speak about the definition of a family in what I think is a really beautiful way.
In our relationship, I think those three words continue to be part of the realisation, above all else, never take each other for granted. And it's just so important. Everything that you do and everything that you say, don't take each other for granted. So please, thank you and sorry always.
Even as parents, we're not perfect, and we also commit mistakes. So we say sorry to our children when it is warranted.
Although it might seem like a simple thing, just to stick to old-fashioned courtesy and respectful dialogue, it has a phenomenal impact in terms of the quality of your communication.
These three words are very fundamental to our spiritual and family life. As we matured and journeyed together, the words please, thank you, and sorry is part of our everyday vocabulary and has become the key living happily and in speech both inside and outside home. These 3 words are simple but difficult to spell out. But when you put into practice, they become great strength.
These 3 words are difficult words to come out.
It goes a long way.
Actually use these words pretty much every day with our kids, certainly every week, because we use them as the structure for family prayers. And they are really the simplest structure of prayers, saying thank you to God and thank you to each other for the blessings we've received, and then saying sorry to each other for things that we've done or things that aren't right about the world, and then saying our pleases. And it's something that people can do at any age.
When I saw that question, I have to confess, I immediately thought of my mother. Sadly, she's no longer with us, but she was very, very, very Catholic. And I just used to dread going back to England because I knew I'd love to catch up with Mum, but I was just going to be bombarded with all the questions that were so negative.
But it taught you a good lesson.
It taught me a good lesson, yes.
Do it differently.
Yes.
Yourself.
Yes, that's right.
I just want to reassure all the Catholic viewers here, this isn't a problem just for Catholics. So if you look at the way Jesus spoke to good religious people in his day, he was very critical of these kinds of attitudes. His attitude was one of mercy, and he was much less concerned with religious practice than with the heart of mercy and everything that flowed from that.
A lot of us are worrying about our kids who maybe don't go to church anymore. But I've got to say, it's interesting that when my mother died, my son pulled out the rosary beads. And we would never have expected that from one of our sons. So obviously the message of faith, the message of belief, the message, all those things that we try to espouse and give by example came through. And it came through and he felt it was needed. You sow your seed, you water it, and you hope to live long enough to see it grow.
None of my siblings, who were all brought up Christian, none of them respond to that. Tony's family all brought up in a Catholic church.
Well, Catholic.
And none of them really go to Mass. They probably still say that they are Catholic. And my children, they don't go to church anymore. There's something that's obviously not connecting, and they have become, they've turned away from their Catholic practice. It can sometimes be disappointing. And it's something we might say, look, we'd really love, but it's important that I think we role model what living a life of Christ is, and hopefully people who have grown up in the church will then go, actually, maybe I'll turn around and come back.
Yeah, and I guess another response is to quietly keep them in our prayers, keep them in our hearts.